It's here. We are redefining what it means to sit at the girls' table. What up, everybody? So I don't know how many of you have actually tried being a founder or starting something, whether it's small or big, but being a founder is fucking hard. So actually, like right before COVID, I attempted drop shipping. This wasn't like a crazy multi-million-dollar business where I raised venture capital money, but I was doing over 15K in revenue a month until eventually COVID made shipping from China too hard and my products would take over a month to ship. And if nobody knows what drop shipping is, I basically took things from AliExpress, which is the cheaper version of Amazon China, would copy their products over to my website, and then I'd actually pay for Facebook ads. So my margins were like cents on the dollars. I'd really have a necklace that was like 13 cents to buy, and I would post on my website for $15.99. So from a consumer perspective, they would buy things from my website. I would then purchase from AliExpress, and then AliExpress would ship directly to the consumer. And I had multiple websites and multiple companies until eventually shut it down because I was paying more for Facebook ads than the margins I was going to actually make on the products. Now, as I mentioned, this was a small little business. I have never started a company and took VC dollars. But being on the flip side now and working in VC, I'm investing in startups and I'm meeting with portfolio founders almost every day. And I'm seeing how hard it is to truly find a product market fit and build something that's not only demanded, but that's also profitable. So the craziest part of entrepreneurship is that there's no rule book, like every founder has a different background, a story, and way to actually go to market, find customers, and find success. And the reason that I even started the girls' table and I bring on different guests is to share their story of how they became the person that they are today and chat just really about different challenges they overcame and advice they have from their personal experiences in hopes that you guys as the listeners leave with just a little bit more confidence that you could actually find your way. So get really ready for Alex Friedman. She's honestly such a badass. She went from a founder to creator, and now she's an investor. So can't wait to have her on. Welcome back to The Girls Table, a podcast where founders, creators, and investors share their stories. Today, I am joined by Alex Friedman, who is currently an entrepreneur in residence at Techstars Music. Alex is an exited 3-time startup founder and has developed CPG products that have sold in more than 3,000 stores nationwide. She has worked with thousands of startup founders, both as the previous program manager for Techstars Austin and Techstars Impact, as well as being a content creator with over 100,000 followers across platforms. And her content is absolutely amazing, so you definitely have to follow her. But Alex is passionate about advising and investing in early stage startups and has a special interest in helping founders go from 0 to 1. So Alex, thanks so much for joining the girls' table today. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. Even better now. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Is there anything that I missed that you're like, wow, you completely forgot to touch on in the bio?
I think you nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
Awesome. Well, I know we were chatting beforehand and you mentioned that before you were an entrepreneur, you were actually assigned plus size model with a top agency in LA. So can you talk a little bit about your background prior to becoming a founder?
Yeah. So it was like totally serendipitous. I when I was in college, I ended up getting reached out to and scouted via Instagram, actually. Went up to LA, they ended up signing me on as a model. And at the time, I actually had already started a little bit of my entrepreneurial endeavor previously to being scouted. I had a patent pending at the time. And when I got scouted for modeling, I was like, oh, this could be a really cool opportunity and a way for me to get into the industry, right? Like up in LA, there's a lot of people that are really working hard and hustling and doing all that stuff. And then I absolutely sucked at modeling. I was not good at it at all. I didn't like it that much. And I'll never forget it. I actually posted on Twitter one time. The day I got my patent, I reached out to my agent and I was like, hey, I really want to pursue a business career over a modeling career. What are your thoughts on it? And her response to me was like, Alex, there are enough women in this world created just to be beautiful. We need more role models who are relying on being smart and being driven and showing people how to build businesses and being a role model for those type of women. She's like, so go for it. Don't worry about your modeling contract. Don't worry about that. And it was kind of at that moment that I was like, all right, let's do this.
Wow. And I feel like being a model and being in front of the camera must help you though now with like being such a content creator and being so comfortable on camera.
Yeah, it's funny because I you would think that, but I'm still naturally not that comfortable on camera. I'm more comfortable when I'm shooting the video on my own. When someone else is taking pictures of you, it's just a lot different. And I felt, at least when I was doing the modeling stuff, like, you know, you're staring at a camera and then there's like 25 people behind the camera just staring at you. And so in that moment, modeling is really freaking hard. A lot of my good friends are still models. They're still absolutely killing it. And I have to give them so much credit because it's very hard work and it's like a very real job. And it takes a lot of, I would say the one thing that really helped me that translated over into content creation is not letting people get in my head too much, right? Because in modeling, everybody's telling you what they don't like about you. Everybody's telling you what needs to be changed. Same thing with content. Same exact thing.
Now, before you were a model, did you always want to be an entrepreneur and start a company?
It was definitely something that was always on my mind. I was very fortunate to be raised by entrepreneurs. So I grew up going into offices ever since I was like 13. Instead of getting a traditional summer job, I actually worked in every single department at my dad's company. So one summer I worked in PR, the other summer I worked in HR, another summer I worked in marketing, and like I kept moving around. So I essentially got all these internships since I was younger, which I think actually lended to me being pretty well-rounded and having very basic knowledge in a lot of different areas. But it definitely gave me a little bit of that entrepreneurial spirit from a young age.
Yeah, I must say, I don't think I learned the same skills that you probably learned when I was working at Friendly's and being a waitress. You learn your own skills, but that's awesome. So when did you start the first company and what were the 3 companies that you started?
Yeah, so my first company was my nail polish product. So it was this little, you can actually Google it. If you Google silicone nail polish ring, that's what shows up as my product. At the time, it was called Polish Pal. It's a little silicone ring that slipped onto your fingers, and you could fit any size nail polish bottle on the top of it, so you could paint your nails anywhere without a flat surface. The nail polish would just sit on top of your hands. So that's actually the product that I got a patent on, and then ended up just meeting a bunch of people and getting vendor agreements with like Forever 21 and Urban Outfitters and Bed Bath & Beyond, and then my product got completely ripped off by an American company and an overseas manufacturer, flooded the market. All my buyers pulled out. I know we'll talk about that probably later on. That was the first business, which I ended up pivoting into a consultancy where I helped other people build out products and build out product lines, which eventually sold into mass market retailers like Walmart and Target and stores like that. So that was the first business. The second business was called Talk Howdy, which was I actually started that during the pandemic, and that's what I went through Techstars as a founder with after I quit my job as a Techstars program manager. And what we did is we held small group virtual chats for people to connect over various topics. So if, let's say, you wanted to talk about movies, you could log on to our platform and you could join a group of people that just wanted to talk about movies or talk about music, and it was all via Zoom. It was great. And then I realized that I didn't want to raise capital and kind of burnt out on it. So I took a bit of a break. And then my third company was called Founder Gigs, which was the one that ended up ultimately being acquired back in March.
Wow, that's awesome. So which one was the most successful? Was it the nail one or was it Founders?
Founder Gigs was the one that ultimately got acquired. I made more money with the consultancy just because selling products into that many stores, you make a lot of money doing that. So I guess it would depend on how you define success. I think they were all very successful in different ways, but I would say Founder Gigs was the most successful in terms of just like, I can now say that I have an acquisition under my belt with Founder Gigs.
And how long were you working on Founders Gig for before it got acquired?
Only about 9 months. It was very quick turnaround how quickly that got acquired. It was actually kind of a crazy story. So Founder Gigs, one day, I have a lot of founder friends, obviously. I've worked with a ton of founders. I'm very, very fortunate where a lot of my founder friends, they come to me with their problems. I love it. I love problem solving with people, and I feel like I'm very empathetic with founders just because I've been on every end. I've watched a ton of founders. My dad was a founder. You see it from every angle. And in 1 week, 3 different founders reached out to me and they said, hey, Alex, I really want to continue building my business. I'm running out of money though. Like I don't know who else to talk to. I have no capital anymore. I'm probably going to have to get a full-time job. Do you know any startups that are hiring? And I said, no, but you know what? I'm active on Twitter. Let me post something on Twitter and just see if anyone replies and says that they're hiring for a consultant or something like that. So I posted on Twitter and the tweet ended up blowing up. And all these people commented on it saying, wow, this is a great idea. Like, I'm also a founder that's running out of cash. Is anyone else hiring? Are there any startups that are hiring? I would love to work on these things. And it kind of clicked in my head that like, oh, a lot of founders have this unique issue. I know I actually think I forgot to mention what Founder Gigs did, but Founder Gigs was a talent marketplace and job board for founders and entrepreneurs to find part-time roles and consultant roles with other startups or expert roles with other startups so they could supplement their income and while they continued to build their businesses. So I built the whole thing in no code that night, relaunched it the next day. So I stayed up till 4:00 in the morning, relaunched it. It got like 100 signups and I was like, okay, this is cool. No big deal. It's just going to be something casual. And then just so happened, someone that was bigger than me on Twitter posted like, hey, this is a super vulnerable post, but I'm running out of cash. I need to find somewhere to find a role. And everybody tagged me in it and it ended up going viral. And within 48 hours, I had close to 2,000 signups for it and was already making money in the first like day or two. It was a really, really unique, incredible experience. I'm very grateful that I got to have it.
And how did you build the website? What did you use to actually build it with no coding?
I use Softer.io, wonderful platform. I talk about it all the time on my content. I'm a huge proponent for no code. I'm non-technical. And I have found that no-code tools have allowed me to build out at least like MVP versions of what I want to do without having to hire a dev team or without going and having to spend a lot of money. The first iteration of Founder Gigs, I built for probably under $100. I used graphics that someone else on Twitter like was selling. I built it using Softer, which I think $70 a month. And then I had I brought on one of my consultants from overseas who helped me build out other parts of it and helped me manage like kind of the customer service end of it.
So it was just you two when it ended up getting acquired?
Just us two, yeah.
Oh my God, that's such a quick turnaround too. And I want to touch in, let's start with your first startup for a second. So the nail one, how did you come up with this idea? And then how did you eventually grow from the idea stage to building the actual product?
I came up with the idea. I have a video, I'll send it to you. I actually have a video of me when I was probably 18 or 19 sitting on the floor in my bedroom, and I made my first prototype out of clay and magnets. And so the base of it was clay. There was a magnet on the top, and I glued a magnet to the bottom of a nail polish bottle, and I put it on my hand, and I was testing it, and it worked. And I went downstairs, I went to my dad and my brother, and I was like, oh guys, look at this thing that I made. And they're like, wow, that's a really good idea. And I was like, oh, really? Like, cool. Ended up looking into it. That's when I filed for my patent, which I could talk all day about patents because now I'm anti-patent. So it's like kind of funny how it twisted that way. I actually had never met anyone who had built a product from scratch. It was, I asked everybody that I knew. I was still in college. I wasn't in the entrepreneur program. It's really funny. It's really ironic because I actually got denied from the business school at my college. And then a year ago, I was asked to come in and be a mentor for the business school at my college. So it's like, oh my God, wild twist of events. It just so happened my roommate at the time, her dad was an inventor. He had a product and it was, he had a patent on the phone, on a phone case and a stand that goes on the back of your phone case so you could put your phone up and like watch TV and your phone would just sit propped up. He was a huge help to me throughout like my whole career. He really helped like tell me, or at least a foundational aspect of like, okay, so we're going to need to go out. We need to go find design for manufacturers. Do you know anyone that does that? No. Okay, well, let's like, this is how you're going to do it. But he gave me the tools and still let me go and do it myself, but knew that I could always call him for help. And he's been an incredible mentor for the last 10 years now for me.
Wow. So where'd you end up manufacturing it? And did you raise capital to build it, or were you strictly just like using your own funds?
Strictly, I used my bat mitzvah money that I had saved up and invested. I manufactured it over in China. So one of my other good friends from college, who was also one of the only people that I knew had made a product, she connected me with her factory that was out in China. Ended up getting a mold made out in China, and the first iteration was done there.
Wow. It sounds easier than it is. Like, what was the time frame between having the idea of contacting China versus actually being able to communicate, make sure it was what you wanted, and having them build it? And how much did that cost, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so my mold cost me $1,500. My first round of product cost me $7,000. So all in all, it actually wasn't that much money, all things considered. Keep in mind though, this was like before the days of TikTok. This was before the days of people being like drop shipping wasn't big. One of my side hustles at the time was also drop shipping. No one did drop shipping at the time. It was so rare. And I mean, this was like 7-8 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. How did I find them? I think I literally went on like Alibaba, Alibaba, and reached out to every manufacturer that I could. So Kina, my friend, sent me her manufacturer rep, who introduced me to a few people. And then for other parts, the thing with building a product like this is you actually need all the different components to come together. So you need someone who can do the packaging, and then you also need someone who can do the insert. And then if you have any other items inside the box, you need someone else to do that. So it wasn't a very streamlined process. I would say it took me about 1.5 years to get everything actually together. And it could have been done a lot quicker. I just had no idea what I was doing at all.
It's so funny. I actually did drop shipping too, and right beforehand, I did a 2-minute intro, and I just talk about how my business I've done has been drop shipping, and how like it's hard, but like communicating with them and getting something customized for you, like that's why I asked, because like you're talking to China, they don't, like the people that I've spoken to like barely understand me. And so it's just interesting. So now you have this, you spent like $8,500. How did you get your first customers, and how did you actually get then the vendor agreements?
You'll notice a pattern. I have a very specific pattern throughout my career, and it's that I just ended up talking to people. I always ended up talking to, I guess, the right people. Maybe it's just because I talked to everybody, and I think I was always just kind to everybody that I met. So I got recommended to go to this trade show out in Florida called ECRM, which is essentially a buyer's trade show, where you have 60 meetings over the course of 3 days with 60 different retailers. So that was how I first got into a few different retailers, but that's actually not how I got into Forever 21 and Urban Outfitters and Bed Bath & Beyond. The person in the booth next to me, who was a guy named Mark Friedman, who unfortunately has since passed away, which is a bummer. But Mark had this like really cute product, and it's actually called Blossom. He sold it before he passed, and it's this nail polish that has flowers in it, and nail polish remover that has flowers in it. You'll see it at all the nail salons, you see it at Target. And I went up to him, and I was a little confused because Mark is this like, kind of portly, white hair, older guy, does not look like he would have a product that has flowers in it, okay? Mm-hmm. And I walked up to him and I noticed his name is Mark Friedman. Obviously, my name's Alex Friedman. I held up my badge and I go, Mark Friedman, Alex Friedman, are we secretly related? And he goes, Lithuanian Jew? And I go, no, Russian Jew. And he goes, oh, I guess not. And I was like, so what's up with this product of yours? I ended up learning his life story. We weirdly had a lot in common, and we became really good friends over the course of this trade show and over the course of the next few years of his life. And his sales rep, he told me, he goes, Alex, like, I really like you, but I'm too old and I'm too tired to mentor you, so I don't want to mentor you. However, I will introduce you to my sales rep who will mentor you, and she will help you. Introduced me to her, and it just so happened she was the one with all the connections to Forever 21, Urban Outfitters, Bed Bath & Beyond, and she took it for me to their buyers and ended up getting it in. So Forever 21 was actually my first vendor agreement I ever officially received, which was really cool.
That must have been so cool, like walking into Forever 21 at that age, you were probably like still shopping there, being like, wait, that's my product. And how awesome was that?
It was a trip. It actually, so because of the fact, and I like to clarify this, it only reached online stores before it ended up getting replicated and like ripped off. So it was really cool seeing it online. When I first got the call that it made it in and like we sent it in and they were signing on my product, though I was driving in the car with my best friend who I've been best friends with since we were in 4th grade. And I just had Shauna, who's the sales rep, on speaker. And she's like, hey, I just brought your product to Forever 21 and they love it. They're going to purchase, I think they only purchased like 500 units the first round. And Claire and I just look at each other and we're like, what? They're like, this is nuts. Like, what do you mean? It was a total trip, but it was awesome.
Now, how were they able to cancel that vendor agreement once it started being replicated overseas?
Yeah, so they could put it online. In the agreement, it says that there's just like a few different clauses that mean that they could change the agreement. So they could either force me to buy it back, or they could put it on clearance, or they could just put it online. They ended up all just moving them online. It was a really hard moment because none of my buyers were responding to me and I didn't know why. And then I finally got a hold of one of them and she was like, yeah, Alex, I have to be honest with you. And it was right after, it wasn't Cosmoprof, it was another one of the big beauty conventions. I don't remember which one it was. And it was probably like a week or two after. And she's like, I have to be honest with you. We went to this beauty convention and there was people there with giant tubs of these products, handing them out and giving them out for free. And like at that point, we can't sell that. We can't sell your product for $9.99 when people are handing them out for free. And every single vendor at this convention had your product. And I was like, oh, all right. I don't know what to do from there. So it was hard. It was really difficult. I ended up in a legal thing with a few of the companies and ended up realizing that it just wasn't even like worth fighting. Like I was a kid, it felt like at the time, without a lot of capital and without a way. The thing about patents is patents are great if you have the money to defend them. If you don't have the money to defend them, then like it's kind of null and void.
Wow. So would you ever do a CPG product again, or did it make you realize like, hey, anybody could just replicate it and kind of what's the point?
I would do a CPG product again. I still love CPG. I've invested in a couple CPG companies. I would focus way more on brand than product, and I would move a lot faster, and I would be a lot more careful. The thing is, at the time, I wasn't careful at all. I didn't know. I wasn't moving very fast. It was literally me on my laptop in the corner of my bedroom trying to get this stuff done. The knowledge from this whole experience allowed me to go on and consult and build out product lines for other people, which was really freaking cool. I can't say I have any regrets about that, but losing my identity around this product was really, really difficult. But I'd get back into it. I would just do things a bit differently.
Yeah, and you touch on this a little bit, but like the importance of not tying your business to your identity. So like, I guess what ended up happening? Like, why do you say that a lot?
I would say because for me, I did that. Like I said, I wasn't the best in school. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, so school wasn't really that important to me. I didn't feel like I had a lot going for me up until I got my patent, up until I got my product. It was really the first thing that I was like very, very proud of myself for doing. But not only that, a lot of people were also proud of me, like Facebook was huge at the time. So I was posting all about the journey on Facebook. And so all my friends knew about it. All my friends from college knew about it. I almost essentially was known as Polish Pal Alex and the girl that had a patent and the girl that was doing stuff. And so then all of a sudden getting sent advertisements, people all the time would send me a link to my competitor or a link to the person that ripped me off directly and say like, hey, isn't this your product? Or like, is this yours? Or, oh my God, I just bought this. I would get those multiple times a day. And it sucked. It hurt because it felt like something that was mine. It felt like something that I tied that I was so proud of, that like I had the first thing that I was super proud of that I was known for kind of like ripped out of my hands very quickly. And I couldn't do anything about it. I just felt completely helpless. So since then, I have a lot of conversations now with founders, as you mentioned, about not tying your identity in with a business because businesses are very volatile and you can't fully control what's going to happen. You can't control what's going to happen in the market. You can't control what's going to happen with competition. You can't control what's going to happen with someone like stealing certain elements of your business or of your products. So the only thing that you can do though is focus on building a really successful brand and working on yourself and making sure that you're working on something that really aligns with like where you want to go and your trajectory and like your values.
Yeah. And I still can't believe you've done 3 companies now, probably more to come in the future. But like, I guess like, how do you even think about the idea? And then like, it was interesting when you said like that tweet came out and you started this company and then it was successful. But I feel like sometimes the hardest thing that I see a lot is either there's no product market fit or it's like people are already doing it. So how do you take it from first finding out the idea to then being like, okay, I'm going to be the one who's going to build it and like nobody else is?
Great question. I would say focusing more, it's actually one of the big reasons why I got into making content. Focus more on talking to your demographic as much as humanly possible first, and make sure that you're solving a product for a market, not finding a market for a product. There's a huge distinction between the two. A lot of people, they build a product that they think is going to be really, really cool or that they just personally want to see, but they have no idea who's actually going to buy it, who's actually going to spend money on it, and who's actually going to use it. It's so much easier to say, like, I've been in the founder world now for the last 5 years of my career. I know exactly what founders want. So building founder gigs, it was an immediate slam dunk because I knew a problem that existed that other people hadn't really solved yet fully. I had the platform via Twitter because I already was active on Twitter. And so that's what led to the immediate success of it.
So how important do you see being a creator right now in the world being? Because I feel like it's had such an impact on you getting customers and actually building a product.
I think being a founder is really great if you have I'd say it depends on like what your intentions are with being a founder. Like why are you doing it? If you're doing it for self-gratification, I can guarantee you're probably not going to be that happy after a few months just because it's really hard it's people are mean. People are brutal online. And if you're doing it just because you want to feel like validated in yourself, it's not the right reason to. I think if you're doing it because you want to promote your business, I think that's super valuable. But honestly, the number one reason to get on content right now, in my opinion, is because you want to help a certain demographic of people. So like what you're doing, like you want to help female founders understand entrepreneurship. And so you're talking to other female founders and other entrepreneurs to kind of spread that. I got into making content because I wanted to help the version of myself that was sitting in the corner of my bedroom building out a product on my laptop and had no idea where to go or where to even start because I didn't even know what to Google. I had no idea what to even look up, like how to build a product. Like, that's why I did it. And I honestly think that's the only reason why I've been able to stay pretty healthy mental wise throughout most of this, the last few months, the last year.
Yeah. And then what inspired you to go to the other side of the house and to start investing?
I've worked with I feel like I've said this so many times now. I've just worked with so many founders at this point, and you meet so many people that you're like, you're going to build something really, really big. And I can tell, I can feel it in my soul that you're going to build $1 billion business. And I can either choose to just help you, which I'll help any founder that approaches me, or I can try and ask you if I can give you a little bit of money and actually ride the wave with you because I believe in you so much that I want to see you build this $1 billion business. I've noticed that I really like being the latter. It's really fun. Like I just wired a check this morning to this company that I met actually over TikTok who has 250,000 users and no marketing budget, did it all organically, pretty much a team of 2. didn't even realize that that was a super valuable business. Like the founder did it. He was like, oh, other people don't have this many like users. And I was like, no, they don't. And we've been talking for the last 6 months, and I really like him. I really believe in him. And it felt like the right move to do. And I'd rather live very frugally now and be able to invest in founders in the hope of it becoming something in the future, rather than live more lavishly now and not be investing in my future or someone else's future.
Oh my God, I feel that. I've always been a saver at heart, but like I'll invest money as if like my friends are going to dinner. I'm like, I'd rather have the ability to see it grow 10, 20x than like go spend it at a dinner with friends or new clothes. Like I'm going to go thrift shopping. I'm going to go eat at home. And so I think that's so important. And one of the other reasons I actually do this is so women know like there's opportunities to invest, and I don't think there are enough women investing. And you're probably seeing that too in the venture world, where like there aren't enough women on the cap table.
It's pretty ridiculous. I'm very fortunate where we were talking before we went live, I've been meeting some really incredible female investors. Are instead of saying like, I'm not going to share my deal flow with you, it's been a total shift of like, hey, you're doing really cool things, I'm doing really cool things, let's go on the ride together. And so one of my friends, Maggie, who is very active also on TikTok, she's absolutely incredible. She's not only an incredible investor, she's a really great person. So everyone check her out if you're listening to this. She reached out to me a few months ago and said, hey, I'm writing a check for this company. Do you want to check them out? And we're now co-investors. We're also co-advisors for a different startup. We trade sponsorship deals. It makes life a lot easier when all of us can look at each other and say, hey, I see where you're trying to go. I'm either already there or I'm trying to go there also. How can we figure out that we can share things or leverage each other to get to that place together? And it's only magic happens when we're able to do that.
Oh, 100%. If you're not willing to help other people, then first off, nobody's, like you spoke about it before. You're like, I either got lucky or I met the right people. And it's like, no, first off, you worked hard to really build that network, go out when you probably wanted to stay in, to go meet people, but you also give back a lot. And I think like, don't give just to receive, but I also think you never know what you could get when you actually help the people around you.
Absolutely. I believe in the mentality. Actually, Techstars mentality is it's give first is their slogan. I really feel like that has been ingrained in me over the last few years of my career because I started my career in tech when I transferred over from CPG with Techstars. And I just believe like give, take in that order every single time. And you will get to where you need to be and meet the people that you want to meet no matter what. Strongly believe that.
So can you discuss any current or upcoming ventures you're currently working on?
Yeah, totally.
You're like,
I'm
no.
like trying to think. I know. I'm like, I don't even know. Right now I'm the entrepreneur in residence over at Techstars Music, which has been an absolute blast helping source a lot of the companies over there, work with them. We're about to start our program actually next week. So would love to share the companies with you after we announce them publicly. I'll be talking about them a ton on my socials as well, just because there's one specific founder I really want to introduce you to because I think you guys would absolutely love each other.
I love that.
But nothing in the works right now, which is kind of crazy to say. I actually decided in March to start taking a break a little bit from work. I've also talked about this publicly, but one of my best friends ended up being diagnosed with late stage cancer, and so
I'm sorry.
It made me reevaluate a lot of the things that I want to work on and who I want to be working with. So instead of jumping at most opportunities now, I'm actually saying no to a majority of opportunities. Which is actually probably much better for me either way, and being a lot more selective with the things I want to work on. It's probably actually the first time in 10 years of my career that I'm not working on anything new specifically, and I'm kind of just letting things happen as they're supposed to happen. That being said, still doing a lot of angel investing. I hope to have a fund in the next couple of years is like the ultimate pipe dream right now, is to continue investing in founders, continue making content that helps people, especially with that 0 to 1 mentality, helping people find out where they even need to begin if they want to break into business, and democratizing business, especially for females and especially for underrepresented founders. And that's kind of what's driving me and my passion right now, as well as just being present with my friend and reprioritizing my values and understanding where I want to be and why I want to be there.
Yeah. And I think everybody gets to this point in life where they say, at least I did as well, like I said yes to everything. Like somebody asked for something, yes, like I'll do whatever you want. And then you get to a point you're like, there's not enough hours in the day, and it's not necessarily helping you and the person you want to be. So then you start reevaluating and you're like, wait, no, like, and then you get too used to saying no. So I think it's like finding that balance, but it's also taking that time to figure out what you really want.
Absolutely. I actually just tweeted that recently, where I was like, I said yes to everything in my 20s, so now in my 30s I can say no to most things. And I think that everybody should do that in your 20s. Say yes to everything. Talk to the random 70-year-old man that's next to you at a trade show that has flowers in his nail polish. Talk to the other people whenever you go anywhere. Talk to the people that don't look super legit. I learned that really early in my career, actually, because I went to a different trade show and I went to an event, sat down at a table with these two women that were the most underdressed in the room. Turned out that both of them were keynote speakers for the event. Ended up having these long conversations with them, and they told me specifically, they said, when you go to events, look at who's dressed the most comfortable and is wearing the most comfortable shoes, because I can guarantee they're the ones that have done this for a really long time. They're going to have the most information, and they're going to be the ones that are actually invited to be there, not that they really want to be there that bad. And I've done that ever since, and I honestly think that's lended me an ability to meet all these incredible people whenever I go to these things.
Wow, I never heard that before, but now I'm like thinking back to conferences. I'm like, like they did wear like sneakers or Nike Dunks, and they were really awesome. So I love that. I want to end it. What are your top 3 best pieces of advice for founders, either just starting a company or looking kind of bring it to 0 to 1?
Find a market and build a product or solve a problem for a specific market. Don't spend a lot of time and money building a product first to go shop it around to a market. It'll be a lot more difficult. You're a lot less likely to reach product market fit. 2, make sure that you're hiring people that align with the same vision as you and have complementary skill set. Like, don't just hire your friends. Don't just hire your family. It's really easy to kind of have these ideas and say, like, I really need to jump into this. I'm going to go for the first person that wants to work on this with me. But keep in mind that most co-founder relationships last longer than the average marriage in the United States. So you want to be working with someone that like you really care about and who understands what you're trying to do, has complementary skills, shares the same vision. The third thing is just go for it, right? Like overthinking stuff won't get you anywhere. The best thing that you can do is start putting out ideas, start putting out products, build something with no code, even if you only have 10 people using it. If you have 10 people using it and then you go and talk to them and you ask them, what do you like about this? What do you not like about this? How can I improve it? Then eventually you get to 100 people using it, and then eventually you get to 1,000. But the only way that happens is if you just go for it and start putting stuff out there. Most products do not reach virality after a day. It's very rare to, even if that's what the internet wants us to believe. It takes a long time and it takes a lot of pivots to get to something truly meaningful. So the only way that you'll know is if you just start.
Wow. I loved all those. Those are amazing, especially the third. I feel like too many people just like wait for the perfect time or like pivot 2 million times, but even trying to get a customer market. I'm like, go, like stop being scared, go out in the market, see if it works, and then go like change it. There's no harm in like putting something out in the world.
99% of the people that use your product in the first iteration will not remember it in the last iteration of your product. And the only way that you're going to know is if you just go out there and do it. I think a lot of people, they prevent themselves from starting businesses because they're worried that people are going to notice and feel like, oh, they're messing up, or, oh, they don't know what they're doing. like, life pro tip here, nobody knows what they're doing when they're first starting a business. A lot of the time it is people fumbling over each other. If you talk to second-time founders, most second-time founders will all tell you that. Like, there are hundreds of things that I wish I did differently when I first started my first business. That would have saved me a lot of time. It would have saved me a lot of money. It would have saved me a lot of heartbreak, but you're never going to know unless you just go out there and try.
Yeah, and also there's no rule book. Like, whether it's in venture capital investing, like, you straight up see everybody has a different strategy. Tiger, Global, Sequoia, whichever one you want to go compare it to. But the same goes for founders. Like, Apple didn't have the same as Microsoft, which didn't have, like, the same as Tesla and Elon Musk. Like, nobody has the same, but we all kind of think like there's this secret rule book that they're all hiding. And it's like, no, they just had a product. They went out, they tried to get customers, they reiterated, they worked hard. And then, like, you never know where you could be.
Yeah, it's a series that I'm actually going to start doing on TikTok soon is products that started out as something completely different. Nokia started as a paper mill. And like there's so many products out there that the only reason they reached like huge successes is from changing directions a bunch of time, listening to their customers, understanding what was going right, what was going wrong, and then moving things around. And that's what you got to do, honestly.
Awesome. Well, Alex, thank you so much for coming on the Girls Table today. If anybody would like to connect with Alex, please visit their Twitter. Hey, Alex Friedman. Where else can people follow you along with your journey?
Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Super active, all at the same username right on there.
Love it. Well, thank you, Alex. And I can't wait to continue to watch you build, and definitely follow her for any tips. Her content's absolutely amazing. And thanks so much for coming on. Bye.